Hi, I'm Eric Fingerhut, and welcome back to our videocast. Let's talk about education. But first we have to understand why education is so important. It's not just that every individual's success in life depends on their level of education, but also if we're going to compete and win the jobs of the future, if companies that have choices about where to locate anywhere in the country and anywhere in the world are going to come to Ohio, it's going to be because of the well-trained workforce and their ability to get the workers they need to expand. I've talked to numerous companies around Ohio who tell me that their single greatest barrier to expansion, to growth here in our state, is their ability to get the trained workers. And often they're expanding in other states because of access to a talented, flexible workforce. We need in this state to improve not only our primary and secondary education, but also our higher education systems. In this videocast, I want to talk a little bit about primary and secondary education. The most important thing to understand is that the debate we've been having in Ohio for the last decade or more over how to provide an adequate education for every child is, in my opinion, obsolete. An adequate education doesn't work in today's world. We need a world-class education for every child because when they graduate, they're competing for jobs. Not only with children across the country, but also with workers in India and China and Japan. So we have to make sure that our standards are the highest possible in the world. And what I'll do is I'll involve business leaders and I'll involve education and academic leaders in making sure we have standards that will ensure that when a student graduates from high school, they can do two things. Number one, they can do college-level work. And number two, they could go out even with just a high school degree and perform an entry-level job at a pretty sophisticated technology-based company. Our high school graduates ought to be able to do that. Now, what are some of the critical things we need to do to make this happen? First of all, we need to have a cadre of well-trained teachers, particularly in the math and sciences, that are available to send into every school district in Ohio that doesn't currently have a staff that can meet the standards that are necessary. And so I would recruit and train for our state the top teachers, pay them what's necessary to attract them, and then send them to work in our communities, beginning with the lowest income communities and the lowest performing communities and working our way up. I would also make sure that we have in every school a breadth of curriculum. You know, the state constitution actually talks about a thorough and efficient education. Well, what does thorough mean in today's world? In today's world, to be thorough, you have to be studying languages. And I believe you also ought to have exposure to arts and to music because they help you create the skills that will enable you to be successful. And of course, you have to be studying math and science and computer science and technologies to be able to be successful. So we will bring those skills into every school that doesn't currently have them. And finally, as I mentioned, Supreme Court, the Constitution of the state of Ohio, talks about a thorough and efficient education. I believe that one of the reasons Ohioans haven't been supporting education funding at the level that we should, is because we have not been as efficient. The time is long past when we can afford to have every school district have its own transportation departments and its own food departments and its own special education departments. What I'm going to do as governor is lead the way to truly efficient education where we reduce the size of the administrative burden of education and have that money available to invest in the teachers and the curriculums and the quality education that all of our children need to succeed in the world.